Welcome back to the Rage Room. Those of you who know me, who have listened to me before, who have been in my world or my space or my clients or part of Aralis Media, you know that I'm an open channel when it comes to this. So first of all, Margot Miller is here with us, and I am the most excited that you're half popping our cherry. We had an incredible visionary on the first episode of the Rage Room, which is coming out next week. So you're popping the other half of our cherry for the Rage Room YouTube only podcast. People are like, oh, you're not going to have it on Apple and Spotify? Fuck no, I'm not. This is just YouTube. This is YouTube because I want us to see each other, right? I want to be able to look people in the face and trigger a new thought process in them. So Margot is with us here today. She is a therapeutic coach and she has served over 60,000 people in 12 months. Am I feeling that right? I'm holy shit. Okay. I thought that I read that wrong. But I want to talk about, first of all, hello and welcome to the Rage Room. Introduce yourself. Tell us in your own words who you are and what you do. When somebody asks you, oh, what do you do for a living? And it's like, where do we start? Do you have a couple days? I'd love to hear it in your own words.
So my 3D response is I'll be like, I'm a mentor to female entrepreneurs, but on a more spiritual level, or 5D level, I'm a guide for the old souls.
Beautiful. Well, I'm an old soul, so I'm going to really love this conversation. And I love that. Are you the kind of person that can look at in the eyes of animals and you're like, there's an old human in there kind of person? I feel that. There's this squirrel that's been hanging out on my deck and he'll come to the window and lift up his tail and he looks me right in the fucking eyes and he's like, I know you. And so I kind of person, oh, the squirrel is my spirit animal. Perfect. So the one thing that I want to talk to you about, and I'm sure the majority of people want to hear, is your audacity. I want to know who you think you are coming online, being able to talk to people so directly and so bluntly. Not a lot of things activate me and surprise me at this point in my life. But when I listen to your stuff, whether it's a reel or a podcast episode or whatever it may be, it hits me in my gut to the point of I need to rethink my entire life after listening to this. So I really want to know who you think you are being able to talk to people so directly in your own words.
The thing that shocks people the most is when they hear that I was used to be shy or overthink things or people pleaser, because I have like gone to the other side of the pendulum. And I definitely feel like I have this sass in me. I'm very direct, but I often find that I channel that a little bit more online. And when people step into my inner world, they're like, you are so loving. I had no idea how
Yeah.
I just don't lead with my lovingness online. I lead more with the boldness because that's my intention, is to activate people. I have different elements in my personality that I lean into, but that was not my natural way of being in the world. Actually, through a lot of near-death experiences, I've been able to tap into these deeper parts of myself, but it took a lot of trauma and rock bottoms to tap into this identity that I'm in today.
It's wild that you're like, you describe it as people say that you're so much more loving, but I feel like that's such a swayed perception. The perception of how loving someone is that changes from person to person, right? And I see being somebody who's bold and shows up very authentically online, but also my badassery is sacred to me behind the scenes too, right? But being somebody like that, that's how I express love with the people that I want to activate their potential or activate them being able to see themselves in a different light or see themselves the way that other people see them. And so then you say, well, I haven't been this way. I've been shy. Was it pivot to where you started speaking to somebody in this other love language of being old and activating people? Because we're really being of service when we're activating people to their core, right? I truly feel if we can trigger a new thought process in somebody, we're being of service, because society doesn't do that. Society is not of service. Society wants to put us in a box and make us feel fucking dumb. Let's just get to it. But
Yeah.
the pivot in your life, was this a painful surrender of I need to let go of this bullshit because this is not who I am? And I feel like a marshmallow being shoved through a keyhole right now when I really just want to take up more space. I know that as a channel, what is flowing through me, I want to be able to take up more space with that. So tell me a little bit about that shift.
So I think in my nature, I've always been unhinged, off the beaten path, just like an alien from outer space. What am I doing in this body? Missing the owner's manual,
Yes.
beaten path of life. So I've always been like unhinged. And but I felt more comfortable being silly, letting a silly side out, right? And so for me to step into this unhinged, bold version of me, that took quite literally a near-death experience to be
Mm.
able to feel comfortable with that degree of power in my body. I think as people who are loving and care about shifting humanity, we're often sold this sort of love and light way to do it. But as you
Mm.
so beautifully reframed, it's really through directness. And I especially find with branding and business, people are looking to be held with that masculine energy, and you're not going to feel safe or in that feminine vibe if you're not, if someone can't shoot you, right? So
Oh
having
yeah.
that more dominant approach actually makes people feel more relaxed because they're like, oh, he's like going to tell me how it is. And that's what people need to hear. And so I think that it was ultimately a lot of near death experiences, a lot of rock bottoms, and then honestly through a lot of health problems. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm a people pleaser. No, I nearly died trying to people please my way through life. And I was like, if I ever want to like be able to walk again or get out of bed, I have to step into another version of me. And I think that ultimately we're just programmed to be shy. We're programmed to be fearful. Like, that's not who we actually are. So it's more like these deaths that were health crashes that were actually connecting me more with my soul at the end of the day.
Tell me about when you couldn't get out of bed and operate as a human.
So I think that for a lot of us, we will have catalytic events when we are trying to do a normal path, and that's not
Oof.
what I'm saying. And so I had a 10-year long neurological disease that left me bedridden for the first couple years, probably like 95% of the time, and then in the later
Mm.
half, 70, 80% of the time. So I was just glued to my bed for a very long time. And you actually start to unprogram when you are just staring at a wall, ultimate like deprogramming of like, I can't wake up. So, or I can't walk. So, what am I really doing in my life? Like when you just have a blank canvas, when everything's stripped away, you're like, well, what do I actually want to put on this thing? And it's not coming from this, oh, I should follow this path or I'm obligated to do this. All the obligations go out the window with your health. So for me, that was my body's way of putting me on a very unconventional path to my calling.
So it was obviously a painful physical experience, but like, what did you when you were going through the dark void? You said like staring at a wall, you're kind of unlearning everything. And one of my things is if you can't be happy naked in a room with nothing and just yourself, you're not going to be happy with the money, the cars, the house, the relationship, the business, whatever it may be. So were you at that point in your declining health where you actually surrendered, or do you feel like you just went through this painful emotional experience where it's like, holy fuck, I don't want to go back to what I knew. Something has to change.
There was varying in that like 10-year trajectory, there was combinations of multiple things. So there were some points where I just was like, fuck it, I'm done going to doctors because this is making my life worse. I'm just gonna literally live my bedridden life. Right. And then I just like pushed my bodies in ways that like no human should just to have a small life. And I actually like, went viral for like, being weird online and like, became known as America's spirit animal. And I was like 31 years old wearing like dinosaur suit, doing like bring pizza. I did all kinds of weird shit just to try to like have a life.
Huh.
Collapsing and dying. And then finally, there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm just going to not give my power away to anything in
Oh,
my life. Like, I'm just going to pull back my power. If I'm stuck in this bed, I'm going to be the fucking happiest corpse on planet Earth. So
mm.
ultimately, learn how to master your mind. I learned so much stuff from that, but there was a lot of years where there just wasn't any hope. People were telling me I was either going to die or it was in my head. It wasn't like there was this light at the end of the tunnel and I was like, I'm sure it's going to happen for a reason. I didn't really have a lot of that. I was just like, well, fuck it. I might as well go do this thing that I'm feeling pulled to do because I have nothing left to lose. So much of my
Yeah.
path was more so that. Or it was like, if I want to get a little bit healthier, I need to ditch these people because they're sucking my soul. And it was like,
Mm.
I would just follow whatever gave me more energy because I had none. So it's like moving to LA gave me a little bit of energy. We're going to do that. If dropping out that friend gave me an ounce more energy, I'm going to, like, I was forced to only do the things that gave me some hit of life in my body.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
I love that for you. And I love that for me. And I love that for us. So, how do you talk to God when you're in surrender and you're going through these painful experiences? For me, just to give some context around my belief in God, is like, holy fuck, Jesus is my homeboy. And for the longest time, I resisted that because I didn't want to be like everybody else. Imagine holding the weight of everything on your own shoulders and not letting go of control because you don't want to believe in what everybody else believes in. This is me for the longest time. And when I finally literally dropped to my knees and surrendered to God and said, I release control, I just want to be a vessel of service. At the beginning of this year, I told my husband, I want to be on my hands and knees serving people. That is my goal this year. And I think I've exceeded the expectations. But it's like when I speak to God, and I speak very widely. It's not just me praying or talking down. I am speaking to everything and everything and anything, right? And when I surrender to God, show me and I will do it. So I would love to hear when you surrender and release the control that we have to do. For me, at least, I have to do that on a daily basis because I am a very masculine woman. I am a generator in human design, which I don't put a lot of labels on that or really operate from that or make that mean anything, but it helped me understand why I'm so manic about everything and too much because I'm just like, oh, I feel really good in my stomach. I'm just gonna go for it. Fuck it. It's fine. We'll be good. But for me, I have to surrender every single day, or I feel like I have to have control over everything. So when you're going through these moments of surrender and you're going through the most painful, pivotal points in your life, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, in your relationship, in your business, whatever it is, when you surrender to God, how does that look for you and how do you feel afterwards?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So I think there's going to be moments in time where the surrender looks like not doing. And I had a
Mm,
moment of that where I was like, I've tried everything. I just remember collapsing on my bed, being like, fucking put me where you want. Because you have a calling, but you don't know what to do or how to go, or you just can't
yep.
fucking, you can't see anything. You have to go up
Mm.
because it doesn't exist. So I had that very moment. And then that's actually when people started to coming to me. I was in bed dead and I started healing people. And so God delivered, right? I'm all right.
Round of applause.
And then I think there's periods where we can allow God to work through us by taking bold ass moves. And to me,
Oof.
what I heard from you over this last year, you're like, I will do whatever it takes, commit to my mission, right? And so for sometimes it's literally us going, fuck it, there's nothing for me to do. There's no path. I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Show me. And then there's other times where it's I am literally willing to do anything. Show me. And then it's actually like we have to move differently, not just let go differently.
Oh, and take action right away, right? Like so many people will say, I'm a vessel of service and I want to do whatever I'm meant to do. And then it's like something's put in front of them and it's like, oh, it's not the time.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have as many facets of excuses that I could use in my entire life. I'm sure you do. I'm sure a lot of our listeners as well. But like when there is that thing that you could insert as an excuse, right? Your health scare, the deterioration of your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. There's so many times where you could have said, well, God, reveal this to me. And then it was revealed to you and you're like, but
Yeah, I'm
I'm
tired.
in bad health right
Yeah.
now. How did you work through that? And for the listeners, we got to tell them to buck it up. We get it. We get the victimization is so much easier than just taking radical responsibility. But like, so many fucking people ask for the things to be revealed to them so that they can make the $1 million, have the successful business, have the right man, have the right woman, have the house, have the cars, have the kids, have all of these things. And then things are revealed to them and they're like, no, it's not the right time. How do you move through that? And at this point in your career, how quickly do you feel like you can move through those?
Yeah. So I think we're always going to have some degree of resistance.
Mm,
I just think it depends how much of a bottom you're in. I have hit bottoms where to me, there was nothing more painful than not having purpose. So when it was revealed to me, I was literally willing to do anything.
mm,
And there was times where I wasn't. And then I became willing because my life got worse. So I think that it's healthy to have resistance and a lot of excuses can be valid. So I
mm.
think that there's going to be a tipping point where it's either I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and not get the result, or I'm just going to say fuck it and go all in. But I think that's ultimately a matter of like how much pain we're in. That's what it comes
Absolutely.
down to.
100%. How do you deal with pushback? Does it make you crumble? Do you feel like it hurts you? What's the process when you have pushback from people or people scrutinize or send you a DM telling you that you're a bitch and all of the things? Because I know myself showing up boldly online, I get stuff like that all the time. I would love to know how you navigate that when you get pushback.
My first thought was like, I'm like, do I even get I'm so used to having so much pushback in my life that to me, the level that I have it now, I'm like, actually, this is nothing. And this is the most visible I've
Mm,
been. So to me, pushback has been my norm. So like, I actually think you have to have pushback to be able to blaze your own trail.
mm,
So I think that it's a prerequisite to stepping into your path, right? And
yeah.
so you have options. You can either stay small because of it, or you can use it to propel you forward. But I'm at a point now where I can't think of the last thing someone said to me where it really had that much of an effect. So because I'm so committed to help, to impact, I genuinely don't give a fuck unless it's actually feedback. I just
Yeah.
personally don't care
Right.
unless it's helpful. I've had some hate that's helpful. That's valid. Maybe I
Hmm.
could shift this thing. I'm open to, I feel like I've mastered hate. I guess I could
Yeah.
say that.
Hmm.
And maybe there's another level to the video game where I would be initiated and be humbled, that maybe there's room for improvement. But at this current level that I'm at, it's not even, I was like, do I even get pushback? Because it's
Mm.
so not, it doesn't affect me at all.
So your business this year, how's that going? No, just kidding. How is that in comparison to other years? Do you feel like you've had an abundant year in your business?
So believe it or not, I just got out of bed a year and a half ago. So what you're looking at with
Mm.
my brand has been about a year. And I
Wow.
went psychopathically. Like when
It
I
sounds like it.
like I did what no normal human being would probably do.
Mm.
I think I ended up taking on 2,000 people directly while going back to get my PhD, while running
Babe.
master classes, while showing up on social media. Like I did to the plot.
That's incredible. I feel like most people are not willing to do that. Most people are not willing to do that. Do you feel like you blacked out? Do you feel like you just,
Yeah.
I fucking literally, there are times where 6 months will go by and I was like, the fuck did I just do? Is this actually my life where I created all of this revenue and all of these clients and all of the things? And what happened to me last year actually that put me in a mental wellness institution, institution, like I checked
Been there
myself in,
before. Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
like by the end of the summer last year, and I was hitting my first $200,000 cash months. And by September, I had checked myself in because I had blacked out in 2024. I had like blacked out with how hard I was going and how abundant everything was. But it was like now in hindsight, and even when I had checked myself in, I recognized that I was like operating out of lack, where it was just like not enough, need to double my month, need to double my, and it was like obviously I was doubling my amount of blackout, and which is crazy because I've been sober for 3 years and that was like hardest I've ever blacked out my entire fucking life. But like the end of that, I went, what did I create? What on earth did I do? Right. But at the same time, you know what you don't know. And I never would have known the capacity that I could hold or how far I'm willing to push myself or what edges I'm allowed to get to. And so it's like the year I went Paris Hilton, and just completely fucking lost myself. At the end of that, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad that I did that and I got it done over the course of a year instead of dragging it on and dragging it on. So you say that you took on all of these clients and you're still in the thick of everything and you're doing all of this abundant, great service work in your life and in your business. But there's got to be times where you just collapse and feel overwhelm and lack and all of these things. And so, how the fuck do you get up the next morning and you're like, yes, I can keep moving into this incredible beast that I created, even though last night I was like crying naked on the bathroom floor, shivering, not even wanting to take a shower or look at myself in the mirror?
Yeah, 100%. So part of getting my baseline health back was I made an agreement with myself that if at any point in time I overdid it, I could just pull back or I would quit. This business isn't going to be worth it to me if I completely kill my body. And I did a little bit at times. I'm not going to lie. I pushed myself, but again, exactly. I took what most people will do in 10 years, what you did too, condensed it into one. And I was like, damn, I can actually handle way more than I ever thought I could. I can
Yeah.
actually handle it probably better than most people. I was like, wow, I just have a capacity that I didn't know. And I think part of it was a pull. Spirit was like moving me. It wasn't all me. At the same time, I knew it wasn't going to be sustainable. And my schedule now is actually like quite gentle. I'm in a very gentle period of recovery. So I did it knowing that this is going to be short term. I can dip out at any point I want to stop. I'm not going to put the money before it. I'm not going to put just constantly helping people. And then when I gave myself that option, I would keep going because I was like, I gave myself permission to be done or to quit. And then I just wouldn't because I'm like,
Well, you're
okay,
taking inventory too. You're not just pushing yourself, you're
that's it.
stopping and taking inventory.
That's how I got through. I'd stop and I'd be like, do I want to continue? Is this worth it for me? This is a really fucking hard moment. Am I
Mm.
going to quit or am I going to keep going? And I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep going. And I'd be like, I can go home, I can stop because I went to Europe for 6 of the months and was building this out with my right hand. And I gave myself permission to leave as many times as I want. This is really fucking hard. I want to go home. No one's putting a gun to my head. I can just go home if I don't want to do this. But I'm like, no, I
Yeah,
really want to
it's
skill.
wild.
So I have my limits, but now I know my capacity. I don't think I'll ever have that kind of stretch in me ever again. I don't think I'll ever need to. Now I know what I'm built for, and it rewired my brain because I also was
Ooh,
chronic health. So I genuinely didn't know what I could handle, no clue that I could handle all that, and I would never do that again to myself moving forward now that I don't have to.
fuck. I want to talk about imposter syndrome because I feel like when we connect to something bigger than ourselves and we release control, I don't feel imposter syndrome
That's
anymore.
so
You know what I'm saying?
interesting.
I
I
don't feel imposter syndrome because I'm like, I don't give a flying rat's fucking ass.
Yeah.
If God said, hey, Oprah's coming to pick you up tomorrow and you're going on her stage, and I'd be like, hallelujah. If you think I'm ready, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I would love to hear your take on when people say, Margot, I'm feeling a little imposter syndrome today. Me, 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 me. I'd love to hear your take on that because I call bullshit. If you say you are connected to your purpose and you say that you are connected to something bigger than yourself and you say that you are a vessel of service to others, but then in the next breath you say you're an imposter, you feel an imposter because something feels too big to you, where's the level of trust that you're saying that you have? Right?
Yeah.
So I want to hear your take.
So I think a lot of people confuse feeling uncomfortable for imposter syndrome. So anytime we're being stretched or thrown into a different level of the video game, you're gonna feel a little bit of that. But I think people naturally feel like an imposter, but it's actually just really uncomfortable and you're in the novelty of it, right? So if that wears off a couple weeks later, that is just you feeling really fucking uncomfortable. And that's good. We want to feel that, right? And so another thing too is if you're feeling like an imposter, you might need something to feel more confident. So maybe there's a skill set that you need to develop. Maybe there's things if you're really like, I don't know, or then you just need to fill the clarity. So there's things that can
Mm,
support that feeling. I do know that people feel that all the time, regardless of success. So I don't know. I can't relate to that because, like you, I've felt short terms of that where I'm being really expanded or really stretched, but it
mm,
goes away. So for me, I would just describe that as I'm being stretched beyond what I'm used to being stretched. To me, that's just natural discomfort.
mm.
But to me, I feel quite confident. And I think that people feel imposter because their message isn't integrated in their shadow side.
Oh,
So they
oh,
feel like they need to portray this person that they're not. And that's the disconnect. And so, what I have people do is I
Mm.
frame their messaging and their brand so it's a congruent, integrated version of them without them having to be on this pedestal. I think you and I both have work that's very integrated in the shadow. So, we don't feel that disconnect in our messaging, in our brands. And I think if people learned how to do that more, they could show up more authentically.
I think it's so great that you said that because I've been doing this work for a really long time. And a lot of people that I used to work with, because I used to speak to a lot of the pain in showing up authentically online and doing all of the things that we have done in the coaching industry in our past lives. But I feel like now a lot of the women that I bring in, the biggest thing that they are being challenged with or struggling with is the self trust piece. And not to say that the people in the past, the clients that I worked with in the past who wanted to know about visibility and strategy and sales and marketing and all of the things, not that they didn't have a lack of trust. But I think a lot of women come to me now wanting to close that gap and find more trust within themselves and their connection to God or a higher power universe or an energy bigger than ourselves because they know that that's the strategy. The women now that I call in, they know that that's the strategy. They know that the strategy is them. So, do you work with women who are looking to build businesses or do you work more on like the spiritual side?
It's one foot in both, right? So I work with a lot of spiritual women who actually need more support around coming into the 3D.
Wow. So you work on the opposite side of the spectrum as me, where like, you have women that are probably see, that's the thing in the industry though. It's either you think that we either need business or we need the spiritual. And so I'm working with the women who are so far pulled into the business or they've built multi 8-figure businesses. And we're working with the women who are just like, so this is my flow, but like, I have no idea how to use Chat GPT. So when you're working with these women and they're going through the it's a stretch because I've also been on the side of the spectrum where I'm like, I'm so deep in my healing journey that I use it as my identity. And I'm like, I don't need to market because I'm healing, or I only trust in God, so I don't need a marketing strategy. You know what I mean? So when you're working with these women who are going through that edge, because it is a big edge and it's a painful edge, because so I feel like, especially on my healing journey, when I really got in touch with my spirituality and I got closer to God, and it was like, I don't want to step back into the marketing and the masculine of it. I want to be in this space because it feels really like comforting and it feels really safe and it feels like a big mother's hug. And so when you're working with these women and they're going through these big painful pivots, do you work with them on the surrender and the pain through it and the descent of it? Or do
Mhm.
you feel like you're more just the support and holding the space for them? Or do you help them close the gap and you're really direct in intimate spaces with them?
Yeah, this is such a great question. And I don't know if this is true for you, but I think a lot of what we end up supporting people with is where our gap was. So
Mm-hmm.
I was in the fucking
Yes.
ethers and I was grounded on planet Earth. I had to make the descent first before I could guide
Mm.
other people. And so what I find that I end up supporting people with the most with is figuring out how they're actually helping people in their messaging, their marketing, because
Yeah.
I was the queen at having no idea how to do that either. So it's like getting clarity on their brand. That's a huge masculine thing that you need. And then sometimes it can be support around content hooks or things like that. And then a lot of the time, too, it's also their identity. So many people see themselves from their survival, this like
Mm.
survival lens of who they've had to be rather than their potential of their soul. So it's also, I do a lot of
Wow.
subcontracting, helping people come home to that, the finish line, to who they're here to be. And so that combination is usually where most old souls have some gaps to close.
Oh, big time. Do you feel like getting your PhD is one of those things that you're doing in a blackout?
Yeah, I like literally, I have every learning disability known to mankind. I was actually told that I wasn't gonna like go anywhere in life because I'm like, legitimately illiterate. So part of the PhD is honestly just me being like, I
Fuck
fucking went.
off.
Literally, and I just want the DR. Like, I'm like, kind of cool. That kind of goes well. It's got a nice ring. I
Yeah,
don't. I learn through experience.
I
I'm very
love that.
experiential. So I'm not someone who's like, I have a photographic memory, so I can understand, I can get through education, but that's not where I learn the best, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah,
It's a way to be in the 3D, get some 3D
I
checks,
know. I love
box
that.
checked off, but it's not to me, the experience is where I
It's something
evolve.
you're desiring to do instead of something that you feel like you need to do. Yeah.
Bingo. I'm just like, fuck it. I think I'm retarded. Let's just go get a PhD then.
I
Like,
love this for you. Gosh, yes. Snaps. I want to go deep on something. Have you ever felt like you no longer want to be here?
that is my default setting.
How do you navigate this with other people who feel this way? If you're working in the therapeutic coaching and you have conversations with people who feel suicidal or feel like the pain is too much, how do you work with people on that?
A lot of old souls, we get addicted to pain and suffering because that's all we've known. So, part of what we have to bring in is we have to start creating something greater than that. And sometimes we don't know how to do that. For a lot of us, that comes through our work. So, part of what I help people understand on a soul level is that when you are advanced in your soul level, there's a capacity that most people don't have, right? And so part of the archetype of people who have these soul driven brands and businesses is the shadow side first. And so we have to come up against that to create a bigger life for ourselves. And so I think that I have never really met anyone who has a higher calling that doesn't have a period or major years, if not their whole life, where it's like a
Yeah.
dark night of the soul. That's just part of the archetype. But obviously, with that pain comes the potential for greatness, for insane levels of impact, for insane levels of success, whatever how far back you have the flip side of that. And so part of my purpose in this lifetime is to have people take all that shit and make it into something greater.
Yeah.
That's kind of the pathway of transmutation. It doesn't mean that you don't have a shadow side. It doesn't mean that you are high vibing all the time. It's just that you create a life that is worth it for you. So you look back and you're like, I fucking did that. That's so cool that I took that. Most people would have swallowed. That would have been the moment they gave up. And look at what I did with that. Like, that's what I want to teach people how to do.
I love that. The reason why I ask is because I work with a lot of clients who have went through seasons of feeling like it's just too much and what's the point, right? I feel like as visionaries and old souls, as you call it, is like we go through such big expansion that sometimes it's like I've expanded so big and I've done so much and I have such a big purpose. And but then
Yeah.
what's the point, right? And this is where I've really connected with my purpose and God on another level of like actually bring everything from each lifetime and leverage it in the next. And so that a lot of people will call that like safety or whatever, thinking that our energy doesn't alchemize into a new soul. But for me, and talking with a lot of the high profile women that I work with, I think that there's a season that a lot of people don't see online where it's not necessarily that we don't want to be alive or we don't want to be here, but more so of I want to go home, right? I feel there are times where I feel so expanded and I feel so big in my infinite purpose that it's like skin suit is just not doing it for me. I feel so uncomfortable in my skin sometimes that I will just like, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., which is the weirdest fucking thing is when I always have my downloads. I'll be going to take a piss and it's just like, and I like catapult into this vision and I'm like, must wake up now and write down words so I don't forget, right? But I'll like, if I try to go back to bed, I feel so uncomfortable in my body that I'm just like, it gets so overpowering sometimes that I'm like, I call it wanting to go home. And so the reason why I ask that is because I feel like it's something, first of all, I'm not saying for the listeners, I'm not saying go online and talk about trigger warning, suicidal thoughts that you've had or anything like that. A lot of those moments are sacred to all of us, right? But the reason why I want to talk about this is because of the image that most people will portray online, that those thoughts are not factors when you have the level of success that you have I or had in our lives or our business or our relationships. And it's like, I think it's one of those things that we also need to shed the shame around having those thoughts, because a lot of those thoughts for me personally, and for a lot of the clients that I work with, aren't like, well, I no longer want to be here, but I feel so fucking expanded that it's like, I want to go home. The skin suit is just not doing it for me. What is the purpose of me being here doing this when I could be literally ruling the universe? You know what I mean? As an infinite being. So I would love to hear your take on that if you feel like you have some insight on that.
I am just so grateful that you're bringing this up. I can't tell you how many people are going to be listening to this being like, oh my God, thank God.
Yeah.
Because that's why when you ask me, have you ever not wanted to be here? And I'm like, that's my default. That is literally
Yeah.
my default setting. It doesn't matter how deeply rooted in my purpose. It doesn't matter how amazing life is or how low life is. That is my default setting is take me home. I'm not from here.
Mm.
That is what
I
I
just
meant.
got literal. I am one hard nipple. Swear to God.
That's my default setting. Low, middle, it doesn't matter. Take me home to be here. And so
Mm.
up for this, but that is the archetype of the Circe. That is the archetype of an advanced soul, is that we know that we are here as volunteers. And so it's not
Oh
that
my
that
God.
feeling goes away. It doesn't go success, your purpose. It's not going to take that away because we all see behind the veil. We know there's no, we know we're in fucking simulation, right? So
Mm.
what I have people do is I take that feeling of none of this matters at the end of the day. Even if you're in your highest alignment, definitely helps, but it's not a cure all. You're still going to have these thoughts. So take
It
that.
helps that we're in Gucci, but it's not
Yeah, yeah,
it's not
yeah,
the cure.
Oh, bingo. I'd rather be in Gucci than like struggling in my old broken Prius. It's a little bit better of a setting, right? But it's not a cure all. And so I have people take that feeling of none of this matters, right? So you might as well do the thing. You might as well make.
Oh,
So it's like you can take that feeling and integrate it for expansion in the 3D while we're here. But I think every old soul, every starseed, every advanced volunteer soul on this planet, we know that we're not, this isn't supposed to feel like home. And I don't think it ever will. And
I
that's okay.
fucking love that you said the if you think that it's all for nothing, then just do the damn thing. Because so many people, yes, if you're listening and you're thinking and you're really triggered by this, listen. If you truly think that it's for nothing and you want to give up, you might as well go fucking have a heyday with your bucket list. If you truly think that you don't have a purpose, go do the fucking shit that you want to do, because I guarantee you're going to wake up happier, you're going to wake up fulfilled, you're going to be of service using your gifts, which could be desiring to travel the world. Our desires are our gifts, and you're going to make money doing it. I'm so happy that you said that, because there is duality with that. There's so much duality that we hold as infinite being and as human beings. And whether or not you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in, it doesn't negate the truth that we're literally just fucking here playing a game. And one of the things that I feel, because I've been there as a consumer instead of a leader online, I was a consumer the majority of my career, right? I would consume everybody's shit and I would absorb everybody's energy and I would give my power away to everybody else and feel imposter all the time and do all of the things. And now I'm a leader in the space instead of consuming, because I just don't give a fuck what anybody's doing except for Merv the cat. I go to Merv the cat's fucking Instagram. If you don't know Merv the cat,
I don't know Merv.
Well, Merv
Immediately following after this.
Merv is a cat and his boyfriend is the gardener. And so the gardener's name is Charles. And so if I go on Instagram and I'm going to consume, it's going to be Merv the cat. Other than that, I don't give a flying fuck what anybody's doing unless they're my people and I want to check in on them. Before, I used to be the consumer. And so now I have purpose. And now I don't feel imposter. And now I'm making millions. And now I serve thousands of clients. But you know what? I still go to bed feeling, what's the fucking point? I still go to bed, like, take me home. I still go to bed and bury my head in my husband's lap and sob and feel like I'm not good enough. Because you know what? When you're that much in your power and you are that much of a vessel of service, you do feel like you're not doing enough. You feel like you're not doing enough because we will never reach our full potential as human beings, as the beings that we are. And so I'm so happy that you were open to have that conversation, because I have never had that conversation with somebody on a podcast or anything. And so I felt like it was like, right, time to ask you. I've also just never been bluntly, do you believe in God? But I feel like even if you didn't, I feel like we would connect on a really deep level. So I feel like I want to talk to you forever. And I feel like already expanded. I talk about this a lot, but I'm not somebody who is super activated on a daily basis by other humans' shit, because I'm so in my own lane and connected to my purpose that it's like, you got to really give me something good to activate me. And so this conversation has done that. And I know that it's done that for the listeners. I would love to ask you what you feel going into 2026 is an edge that you're on right now that makes you feel uncomfortable on a daily basis, though.
I love that question. I'm so enjoying this conversation. I think what we're supporting people with is almost like de-pedestaling things, right? So it's not like once I have that feeling of like homesick, it's going to go away. Once I have this, I'll never, right? We're just saying you might as well fucking go for it, live it up, do the thing, and experience the contrast while you're doing it, because that's how it's going to be for our archetype of what we signed up for. So for me, I just see this as a game of impact. I'm like, what else am I going to do since I'm on this floating rock? So might as well swing big.
Hello.
So yeah, I feel like I've been in this recovery period after my psychopathic sprint, but I feel like I'm warming up for another round of some big swings. And I feel like I'm warming up for another leap. I'm very activated by supporting old souls in their path. And so for me, the next edge would just be next level visibility, next level impact. That's always, I guess that's just the game I've signed up for until we go home.
Well, as we evolve, we could do the same thing our entire life, but if we're evolving, it's always going to be an edge. We're honest with ourselves and we're truly evolving in our purpose, it's always going to be an edge. I wake up every single day feeling really edgy. People are like, what do you do for a living? I don't fucking know. What day is it? What are we doing today? I wake up wanting to do something different every single day. And I love that. I love that for you. And I love that for us. And for the listeners, buck it up, Buttercup, because you got this. Thank you so much, Margot, for joining me on the Rage Room. And for all of the listeners, I will see you on the next episode of the Rage Room.
Thank you.